Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Pocket Vision Fantasy Sports. And we are live here on September 4th. Today's show is going to be great. We're going to be talking about some of the most interesting games of the week. We'll be talking about the free agents you can stash right now, some 2024 futures, the best bets of the week, and our crystal ball bust and picks as always. And I want to remind our viewers, the views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the host and do not reflect professional gambling advice. We are passionate about sports, not psychic predictions. We do not have crystal balls here. Always do your own research before making bets and consult a qualified bookie before making any gambling decisions. Now I'd like to toss it over to our host and talk about the most interesting games of the week.
Yeah, hey, one of the games that really stands out to me is the Lions versus the Rams. The Rams have two players that I am really intrigued with seeing. Two players that I was not drafting very much of, Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua, both going very early in drafts. I did not have very much exposure to him because I was very high on Blake Corum. I think he's going to get a larger opportunity share right off the bat. We've seen Kyron Williams is getting punt return duty, and now Blake Corum's going to get kick return duty. But that I'm not too scared off of Blake Corum with the kick return duty because a lot of rookies that are versatile get that. So I'm actually excited to see that. But Cooper Kupp is back. This is a former offensive player of the year, and the beat reporters say the offense is going to run through Cooper Kupp. So I want to see week one, who is it going through? Is it going through Puka or is it going through Cooper Kupp? So this game really stands out to me for the game of the week that I want to see. I'll pass it to Zach. Zach, what game really stands out to you this week?
I cannot wait to watch the Arizona Cardinals and the Buffalo Bills. You get two top-end quarterbacks with Josh Allen and Kyler Murray. You get two breakout candidate tight ends in Dalton Kincaid and Trey McBride. James Cook, one of my favorite running backs to draft this year. And then on top of all that, you get arguably the most decorated rookie wide receiver in several seasons. Just tons of fantasy goodness to go all around. I guess we're going to Marcus.
Yeah, I would say both good games there. But for me, I'm wanting to see the Colts versus the Texans, Richardson versus Stroud, elite players on both sides of the offense there. I want to see, is Richardson going to be the guy we saw last year in a very limited sample size? Is he going to be able to go out and run, do a lot more than what we saw in the preseason? I want to see for Stroud, who's going to be his target? Is it really going to be a rotation? Is he going to hone in on one of his wide receivers? I want to see that. Two elite running backs, Taylor, Mixon. And then again, with the Colts, with Pittman, all the wide receiver targets that he can handle there. It's going to be a lot of points in the dome, and it's something I'm going to be looking forward to. But Marty, you got a game you're looking forward to next week?
I do, and I'm going to have to wait all the way until Monday for it. I've got my eye on the Jets and 49ers. Last year, we only got to see one snap, I think, of Aaron Rodgers, and not only did we not get to see Aaron Rodgers last year, but we didn't get to see his teammates with Aaron Rodgers. So we get to see that offense and what it can potentially be. I mean, it may be they are going to be in a tough spot against the Niners, but it's going to be a good test for them, and we'll get a good idea of what that offense is going to look like. And then moving on to sits and starts for week one, we've got Jordan Love versus Jared Goff. Eric, who you got?
Well, if this is the situation you're on and you're debating between Jordan Love and Jared Goff, you're in a pretty good spot because I think both of them are very close, but I'd have to give the slight edge to Jared Goff. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's going to be one of the top two receivers this year, and Jamar Gibbs, he's got a great pass catching weapon in the backfield as well. So I'm for Jared Goff over Jordan Love. Zach, what do you think?
I agree 100%. Jared Goff for me. I'm actually a little down on Jordan Love this year compared to at least everyone else. But Jared Goff's in the highest scoring game of the week. Going to be lots of points and lots of yards. What about you, Marcus?
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. For me, it's going to be Jared Goff, highest scoring game of the week. Perfect weather in the dome. Sunday Night Football, expect some fireworks. But another game that I'm going to be looking forward to down in Miami is going to be Jacksonville versus the Dolphins. Trevor Lawrence versus Tua. This might be a quarterback battle decision that somebody has to make. So, Marty, who would you pick in that scenario?
For me, it's Tua. I mean, this offense. I mean, he not only did he lead the league in passing yards last year, but this offense is really something. He's got so many weapons, and while I do think Lawrence can have a good game in comeback mode, my money's on Tua.
And I'm the same. I've got to say with Tua as well. Whenever Tyreek Hill's on the field, be ready for a show.
I too will go with Tua. Marcus, do you have a different opinion?
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. Not that I don't think Tua is going to have a bad game. I expect a lot of points in this one. It's just Lawrence is going to be playing from the comeback mode from the get-go. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to have a hard time running the ball against that Miami defensive line. I think Lawrence is a candidate to be throwing 400 yards just because he'll be in comeback mode. I think even from quarter one. So give me Lawrence in that scenario.
All right, how about we transition to QB1s for the week? Who's everyone's top guys?
For me, it's Jalen Hurts. I absolutely love Jalen Hurts. I love his weapons. He's got Barkley now. They've upgraded their running backs, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I mean, how could you go wrong? I just want to see some more tush push. I want to see some more passing touchdowns. I'm taking Jalen Hurts all the way. Zach, who do you have as your?
I got Josh Allen. Not only is he my number one quarterback for the whole season, he gets to play the Arizona Cardinals defense, and so how could I bet against it? What about you, Marcus?
Yeah, I think both of those guys are going to be interesting. Will their teams allow them to continue running the ball? I think for Hurts and Allen, it's going to be some very interesting things to watch in week one. I actually think both of them might not get as much run, but we'll see there. But for me, it's going to be CJ Stroud in Indianapolis. It's in a dome, perfect weather. He's got the three elite wide receivers, the running back, all of it's there. I don't see how the Colts are going to stop him. And on the other side, I think the Colts can keep up to keep the pushing the score up and up. And at the end of the day, I think Stroud can throw for 4 touchdowns, 300 plus yards, and finishes QB1 this week. But Marty, you got a different person?
I do, and we already talked about him, and we all like him. But for me, it's Goff. There's going to be a lot of points in this game, and I mean, sure, he could get. It's going to come down to who throws whether the touchdowns are passing or running. But I think there's going to be so many points in this game, and I think he's going to have a large part of it. And moving on to wide receivers. First up, we have Amari Cooper and Tank Dell. Marcus, who you got?
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Amari Cooper. I think a little bit of a revenge game, him wanting to show up Dallas and remind them, say, hey, maybe you should have kept me all along, to have a dynamic duo to go with CeeDee Lamb. I think Cooper was really coming into form at the end of last year. I think Watson coming back is going to want to keep that going. So for me, it's going to be Amari Cooper.
And I have Tank. Tank also was coming on really strong at the end of last year, and he has a great rapport with Stroud already. And I think the Texans are going to be moving the ball really well. And with Cooper, I'm less confident in that offense.
Yeah, CJ Stroud absolutely loves Tank Dell. They let him build his own fantasy team, and he chose Tank Dell as his slot receiver out of anybody in the whole NFL. So it's hard to go wrong with Tank Dell in this situation.
Yeah, it's Tank Dell for me too. But moving on, who do we like between Xavier Worthy and Jaden Reed? Marcus?
Yeah, for me, it's Xavier Worthy. It's probably the player I'm most excited to see tomorrow night for opening kickoff. I want to see what the Chiefs do. Are they really going to let him run the Tyreek Hill route, especially with Hollywood Brown rolled out? I think Worthy could have 2 touchdowns tomorrow night. So give me Worthy.
I like Worthy for the season, but for tomorrow, I'm on Reed. And I have a feeling that the Kansas City Ravens game is going to be a little bit lower scoring than what we might expect, and especially when you're comparing it to the Green Bay Philly game. So I just want a piece of that game. Eric, who do you like?
I like Reed. I think he came on very strong last year. I think that Green Bay receiving core is really all over the place, and I think we're going to see Jaden Reed come out as the number 1 receiver in this offense.
I'm going to have to go with Xavier Worthy. I think he is going to take that Chiefs offense this year to the next level. We're going to see prime Patrick Mahomes giving him another deep option, something he hasn't had since Tyreek Hill. So now let's talk about who our number 1 receiver is this week. Eric?
Well, as long as CeeDee Lamb signs, I have CeeDee Lamb as being the number one receiver. I absolutely love him. I'm snagging him in every fantasy draft that I could get this year. But if he's not in, I have to go for the outstanding Tyreek Hill.
I'd agree with that. Tyreek Hill is my number one wide receiver. Should be a lot of quality quarterback play in the state of Florida this weekend. And I think Tyreek Hill is going to be on the right side of that.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Justin Jefferson. I think he's going to remind everybody why he's the best wide receiver in football just based on talent. I think the Vikings-Giants game has a little bit of a sneaky potential where neither team's going to play that much defense. Jefferson, I think, could easily end the week with 12-plus catches, 150 yards, a couple touchdowns, and be the wide receiver one this week. But who do you got, Marty?
I have St. Brown. I chose Goff as my quarterback. I really think the Lions are in a smash spot this week, and they're going to score a lot of points. And it starts and ends with St. Brown. And moving on let's move on to running backs now. So first up, Zamir White, Najee Harris. Zach, who do you like?
Give me Najee. I think the Steelers are going to run a lot. And Jalen Warren's not quite 100%, so I think it's going to be a lot of Najee Harris, and that's who I'm going with. So, Marcus, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. It's Harris. I think he's a candidate easily for 20-plus touches. Zamir White could also get some touches, but who's more talented to me? It's Najee Harris. And it's just I think Arthur Smith might want to stick it to Atlanta just a little bit. So I want that as well. So Marty, you got somebody else?
No, I have Harris as well. I like Zamir White a lot for the season, but for week one in this matchup, I like Harris. And the next one we have up is Brian Robinson and Raheem Mostert. Eric, who do you like here?
I like Brian Robinson. I think you're going to get more of the running back. They don't pay as much attention to him because they're watching the quarterback, Jaden Daniels. So I'm going to take Brian Robinson, and I love him at this spot.
Yeah, I agree with Brian Robinson there. I think a lot of people, they see Austin Eckler going to the Commanders and think that's going to be a shared backfield. I think we're going to see a lot more of Brian Robinson, at least on first, second down than people realize. Definitely around the goal line. So that's why I'm going with him, not only this week, but the rest of the season. Marcus, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it's Brian Robinson. Do you think he has a chance to really take a hold of that backfield there with Washington? But Marty, do you think you could make a case for Raheem Mostert?
I do. I think Mostert, he's getting a lot of hate. Obviously he should not. He outperformed last year for sure, but he also scored over 20 touchdowns, and he's only 1 year older. He's not 5 years. He didn't age 5 years magically in the offseason. And it's, that's a Miami offense that's going to score a lot of points, and I think he's still going to have a large role in that offense. And moving on to top running back of the week, Zach, kick us off.
Well, number one running back, as long as he's playing, is going to be Christian McCaffrey for me. It's tough defense against the Jets, but I don't care. Anybody else have a different opinion?
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Kenneth Walker. McCaffrey's great, right? Obviously, RB1, but I think Walker really has the potential to score more points this week. Last year, no team on the road gave up more points to the running back than the Denver Broncos. And I'm buying a little bit of what's coming out of the Seattle from the talking heads over there saying that Kenneth Walker is going to be given a lot more touches this year. Just think that he's set up to absolutely smash in week one and finishes the RB1. But moving on to tight end battles. First one up we got here is Brock Bowers or Dallas Goedert. Eric, who you got?
Well, I absolutely love Brock Bowers, and I picked him up as many drafts as I can, but I do not think he's going to have the fantasy points week one. Tight ends usually start a little slower, maybe not even their rookie year at all. Definitely, I don't think he's going to be able to produce the first game. I'm going to go with Dallas Goedert over Brock Bowers this week.
Well, for me, if if everything went right in the draft, I'm not starting either one of these guys. I'm not thrilled with either one. If I had to pick one, give me Dallas Goedert. He's the veteran. He's going to be on the field. I'm not sure about Bowers. Marcus, what about you?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to go with Bowers. Just have a feeling the Raiders are going to want to show that they took him for a reason. And Minshew is capable of getting the ball to his playmakers, as we saw last year with Indianapolis and getting Pittman the ball. I just think Bowers is there. Goddard, I just don't see any upside. At best, he's the third receiving option. If you throw in Barkley, he's the fourth option when it's just getting touches in general. And I just think the floor is really low for Goddard. So I just want that unknown potential upside of Bowers if I had to pick one. Marty, you got somebody?
Well, I went with Goddard just because for the same reasons as Eric. I'm concerned about Bauer's ability to he may not even get a target. I mean, I think he will, but I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't even get a target in the first week. And it's just that game too. The Green Bay Philadelphia game is a lot more appealing to me. The next tight end battle that we have is Jake Ferguson and Njoku.
Yeah, Jake Ferguson and David Njoku. I think it's kind of a toss-up, and then we don't know which Deshaun Watson we're gonna see. So that's an interesting game just to see how that plays out. But I like Jake Ferguson. I think he's the number 2 option on that team, and I think he's gonna see a very large amount of targets this year. I think he's gonna get the second most targets on his team.
I agree with that. Jake Ferguson for me, just simply because I trust the Dallas Cowboys offense a lot more than I trust the Cleveland Browns, at least this point in the season.
Yeah,
Marcus?
I would say Ferguson as well. It's no secret that I think Ferguson has breakout potential at tight end. But Barty, you think you could make a case for Njoku?
I like Njoku. He came on really strong at the end of last year. I know he doesn't have Flacco throwing him the ball this time, but I think maybe Watson sees that and he's like, hey, this guy's pretty good. I'm going to throw him the ball. But we have Ferguson. Like Ferguson, I had him last year. He just kind of frustrated me. He had a lot of 4 catches for 40-yard type games. He's going up against the Browns. I mean, that's a challenging matchup. I mean, I think that the Dallas offense could struggle a little bit more than people think this week. So moving on to top tight ends.
Yeah, the top tight end of the week, I have Dalton Kincaid. I absolutely loved him. I grabbed him everywhere in fantasy I could. He wasn't ranked number 1, but he was number 1 in my book on the entire year, and I think he's going to be number 1 this week. I think Josh Allen's going to look for him as a safety blanket. When he needs a first down, he's going to be looking his way. When he's in the end zone, he's going to be looking his way. And I think we're going to see a little bit of Dawson Knox steal maybe a touchdown or 2, but I think Dalton Kincaid could see over 100 catches this year, which no tight end got last year. Zach, what do you think?
Well, I definitely like your Dalton Kincaid pick there. He's one of my breakout tight ends this season, along with Kyle Pitts. But both those guys, I kind of want to wait and see a little bit before I move them all the way up to number 1. I think they both can get there. So my number 1 guy going into week 1 is Sam Laporta. He's going to be playing in the highest scoring game of the week, and with Jared Goff swinging it like he's going to be doing, definitely betting on Laporta to finish number 1. Marcus?
Yeah, I would say Laporta as well. Not a very bold take, I think, but the game with the most points, arguably one of the best tight ends already in the league. He has the connection with Goff, so I'm going to say Laporta is the top tight end one this week. Marty, who do you got?
I have Kincaid, and I know I've been all in on the Lions so far, but Kincaid is just, I think he's in an absolute smash spot. The Cardinals haven't been that great against tight ends for years, and I just think that this is going to be the year where Kincaid takes a huge step forward and just has a big role in potentially Josh Allen's number 1 target this season. And moving on, like now that our drafts are done and the season's about ready to start, who is a player that you would like to stash now? Somebody you can get on free agents and stash, somebody who could break out later on in the season. Eric, what do you think?
I absolutely love Jalen Wright. There's 2 ways to get opportunity. It's skill, and this guy ran a 4.38, the fastest rookie at the combine. I absolutely love him. In his competition is Raheem Mostert, who's old, and Devon Achane, who's little. So all he needs is the skill to get on the field, which he has, or opportunity. And if one of these guys in front of him gets hurt, he's going to be able to produce. They like him. He's fast, and I think he's got a real chance. Maybe not week 1, but if a player that's on your bench that could get you points later on in the year, this is somebody you want.
My free agent stash is somebody who already has that opportunity as well as the skill, and that's Jalen Polk. Not a whole lot of competition in terms of targets in New England. I don't know that he's going to come out week 1 with 10 plus targets, but I do think at some point in this season we're going to see a 10 plus target game for Jalen Polk. And at that point, it's going to be too late to pick him up. Somebody else is already going to have done that. So stash him now while you have the chance.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Jaleel McLaughlin there and Denver. I think he showed legit explosiveness last season in a bad offensive situation. I know that every year of Sean Payton's career, he's finished top 5 in RB targets among all the teams. I think that fits Jaleel there. So somebody who I think is widely available in a lot of leagues, right there on the cusp. Maybe some leagues he did get drafted. I think he's somebody you pick up now before week 1 happens, because Denver's going to be trailing in the game against Seattle. He might get a lot more touches than Javonte does, and it ends up being somebody who's the number 1 ad on everybody's waivers next week. So that's somebody I want to grab now before it's too late. Marty, who do you got?
I've got my eye on Vidal, the Chargers running back. We don't really know exactly how that situation is going to play out this year. I don't expect a very big role for him at all starting the season, but I don't really love the running backs in front of him. I think that there's a great opportunity for him to climb that depth chart, and this is going to be a team that we expect to run a lot. So I like Vidal.
I want to throw one more bonus pick out there. Samaje Perine, just signed by the Chiefs. I think he's got an opportunity to potentially steal some work over there and probably be very annoying for some other fantasy owners that have some of the other running backs like Isaiah Pacheco, where this guy is potentially cutting into 50% of his timeshare. But I think we're going to transition into the offensive rookies of the year. Is that correct, Jason?
Oh yeah, brother.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I think we're gonna go each person. So Eric, we'll start with your rookies and we'll flash them up on the screen. I think this one's pretty chalk.
Well, out of all of the picks for offensive rookie of the year, defensive comeback player, MVP, defensive player of the year, everything, I think this one is pretty much the biggest lock and my biggest conviction, and it's Jaden Daniels as the offensive rookie of the year. I think as long as he does not get injured and as long as he plays all the games, I don't see a world where he does not produce as the offensive rookie of the year, being able to run the ball and throw the deep ball better than any of the rest of these quarterbacks. He is my offensive rookie of the year. I would say he's got the best chance. Zach, I'll give it to you as your defensive or offensive rookie of the year.
So I would be betting on Jaden Daniels as the offensive rookie of the year. Just because his odds, I think, are plus 600 on FanDuel right now, which translates to about, him needing like a 15% chance to get the award for that to be a good bet. But if I'm actually picking who I think is going to be offensive rookie, then I'm going to take Caleb Williams. But definitely, as far as the odds go, give me Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. The best value when it comes to betting, Jaden Daniels, 6-1 odds. He just has that potential to easily produces have the most stats and look the most electric and everything, and the eyes will just tell you it's him. I will say the Bears have a sneaky chance to make the playoffs. And Williams is obviously the betting favorite, though I don't think it's the best value. But if the Bears do somehow get in there and get into that 7 seed, I think it would just be a lock that doesn't matter really what Daniels does, that Williams would get it. Marty, I know that you're also on the Daniels train as well.
Yeah, I like Daniels a lot. A lot of the rookies this year, especially in the running backs, they don't even have well-defined roles. So we know Jaden Daniels is the starting quarterback. So for me, it's Daniels. I don't really have much more to add. Now let's move to the other side of the ball. Defensive rookie of the year. Eric, who do you like?
I think Anthony Richardson is going to completely run up the scoreboard where Liatu Latu has a chance for the most sacks of maybe any defensive player in the league, let alone defensive rookie in the league. Zach, what do you say?
I agree with you. Not about the Anthony Richardson running up the score, but I just think Latu has a lot of talent. He, burst off the line of scrimmage, looked great in the preseason. First defensive player taken in the draft. So that's my guy, Marcus.
Zach, you don't believe that Anthony Richardson has that upside?
No. Well, he has the upside, but do I think it's going to happen? No. Better fantasy player than real life.
No, I think
I'm nervous about Richardson as well, being a Colts fan, but getting somebody you guys a different player to look at for defensive rookie of the year. Dallas Turner there with the Vikings. The Vikings defensive scheme just promotes aggressiveness. Usually the players that win this award are going to be edge guys. They're going to be guys that rack up sacks, 7, 8, 10, 9, 10 plus sacks. I think Dallas Turner has that opportunity with the Vikings. Latu obviously went number 1 defensive player. He's got a chance, but he might also be facing double teams from the get-go, and that might limit his sack potential, or Dallas Turner might get to have that opportunity with aggressive Vikings defense to lead the rookies in sacks and win the award.
I have Latu as well, and it's all about Anthony Richardson running up the score. I'm with Eric on this one.
I would love that.
Yeah, I'm a Colts fan too, so let's go.
Let's do it. Let's go, Radar.
Comeback player of the year, Zach, kick us off.
Well, I'm going to go with the chalk pick here, and that's Aaron Rodgers, former MVP, coming back to a team that could easily, not only win the division, but the conference as well as the Super Bowl. He's my guy. Marcus?
I would have a question, Zach. So he's plus 140 now, I think, on most books. Would you bet him now? Would you wait? Maybe they lose to San Francisco week 1, then his odds you would think would get worse. I think Rodgers would be the most pick, consistent straight up pick. But as far as value goes, is it something you want to wait on?
I don't know that a loss to San Francisco is going to move the needle too much. So I would probably just get it in now. I mean, I think there comes a point where, you wait too long and that those odds just go to basically,
yeah, it's still plus money odds right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's still plus money. And, I think he has a pretty high chance, barring a disaster season for the Jets.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. A long shot that I really like is Kyler Murray. I've been not shy about how much I'm all in on Kyler Murray this year. He's 25 to 1 on most books. Just a $10 bet, you won 250 there. I think he has a real shot to remind everybody why he was top 5, at least in fantasy, quarterback producer. And if Arizona can just sneak out some games, even steal 7 seed, I think that 7 seed in the NFC is kind of up for grabs for anybody. If Arizona comes out and gets it, all of a sudden Kyler at the end of the year is going to be, I think, neck and neck with probably Rodgers or anybody else there. That it could be a real good return on value. Marty, you got somebody different or?
Not different. I have Rodgers as well. The thing is he doesn't even have to put up tremendous stats to win this. I mean, if the Jets go 14-2 or something like that, and he has decent numbers, which he probably would if they have that record, I think he's gonna take this one. Eric, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say pretty much anyone with a brain should be taking Aaron Rodgers. But I would say this, out of all of these bets, that is the least one I'm gonna make, because I hate to take Aaron Rodgers at plus 155 with the only way he loses is if he gets injured. And if he gets injured, I will say I do like a long shot at Deshaun Watson coming back. I think he played very well in the final 6 weeks last year. So if we can see the old form of Deshaun Watson, I think that's a long horse that we could potentially come back from the comeback player. Moving on to MVP. Out of all the players in the league, who is going to be our MVP? Typically, it's a quarterback. Marcus, who do you have as our MVP this year?
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a bold prediction here and take Jared Goff. I think he's over plus 2,000 in a lot of books. I think the Lions are going to finish as the 1 seed in the NFC. And if we look back on the award, obviously, historically, it's a quarterback that wins the award. And it usually goes along with the team that gets the 1 seed in either conference. That's usually a very correlated thing there. So if I think the Lions are going to be the 1 seed in the NFC and Goff's at plus 2,000, sign me up for that as a long shot to surprise everybody and win MVP. Marty, who do you got?
I have Patrick Mahomes, and I mean, this is kind of an obvious one, but I mean, I think he's got a really high chance at winning it. It's not a bet that I'm making a lot, kind of like Eric with Aaron Rodgers, just because of the odds do factor that in. And there's a lot of other guys out there who have a chance. Eric, who are you liking?
I like Patrick Mahomes. I think he won the Super Bowl last year with little to no weapons at all. And now he's got so many more weapons. How could we not see him come back and just absolutely destroy everybody in the NFL? It isn't even fair that now they have Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown. I don't think much people is going to have a chance against him. I don't think he's going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think he's going to be able to three-peat, but I do think he is going to destroy people this year.
Yeah, I agree basically 100% with what Eric just said. But I'll add one thing with Mahomes, and that's I even like him at his odds. I think he's somewhere around plus 450. To me, that's still a pretty good deal. I think he's just going to go out and have a, prime Patrick Mahomes season. So let's move on to Defensive Player of the Year. What do we think, Marcus?
Yeah, sticking with my theme of the Lions being the number one seed in the NFC, I'm going to go with Aiden Hutchinson to lead the league in sacks and become the Defensive Player of the Year. If Goff isn't, doing it with the offense, I think the defense is definitely going to carry the Lions. Aiden Hutchinson for me. I know he's at least 11-1 on DraftKings, if not higher than that. So just a really good long shot, good odds there, I think, in my mind. Marty, who do you got?
I like Hutchinson as well. I'm going to, running up the score, we got that going on here too, getting those sacks. Eric, who do you like?
For the Defensive Player of the Year, I like Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons is going to be after people this year, running a 4.41, 99th percentile 40-yard dash, 100th percentile speed score. This guy has all the athletic measurables. I just think he's going to be completely after it. I think Dallas is going to be able to score at will with CeeDee Lamb, and I think he's going to be able to get after the quarterback. Now he's playing linebacker, he's playing on the line, but we've also seen him playing some running back in practice. So I think this is a voting thing. So even though he's not playing defense, I think he might get some votes if he starts getting some offensive touchdowns, even though he is a defensive player.
Is that a bet you can make? Over under a half a touchdown for Parsons this year?
I haven't seen that, but I would take it. I think there's a chance. If you looked at his high school,
we saw JJ Watt do it.
He looked great in high school playing running back. Great.
Are you at all concerned about Dan Quinn leaving the Dallas Cowboys and what that might do to that defense?
Yes.
No, I am not. I think Micah Parsons is going to get after it on any defense. You just put him on whatever defense you want, and he's going to be able to get after the ball.
I think the Defensive Player of the Year award is usually going to go to one of the top defenses. I'm not sure Dallas is going to be that this year, but one team that I do think will have a very good defense and have a very good overall team is the New York Jets. And who's the best defensive player on the New York Jets? That'd be Sauce Gardner. Now, cornerback doesn't typically win this award, but a few years ago, Stephon Gilmore did. So it is a possibility. And you can get Sauce Gardner at like plus 6,000 to win Defensive Player of the Year. So not a guy that I'm going to put a lot of money on, but I think he's like a fun, long shot bet to make. So now that we've kind of wrapped up the awards, who do we like for the Super Bowl? Marty?
I'm all in on the Lions, and I have the Lions winning the Super Bowl. Eric?
I picked Jalen Hurts as my best quarterback, and I'm going with the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. I think they got Barkley coming into town. Is this going to put them up to the next level where they got a chance to win this thing?
I'm sticking with the Jets here. Not necessarily my straight up pick to win the Super Bowl, but they're who I like with the odds, about plus 1,900. So give me the Jets. Marcus?
Yeah. So for me, we are going to see the three-peat. Chiefs will beat the Lions in the Super Bowl. A debate that I don't think we need to get into now. I already think Mahomes is better than Brady, but I think after this year, when Mahomes three-peats, I think everybody will start to see that, yes, Mahomes is better than Brady. Again, discussion for a different time, but give me Chiefs over Lions.
Sure, we'll have that discussion plenty times.
So moving on to predictions for the primetime games. We got 4 of them this week. Just week 1, it's always the best, and they're going to give us an extra primetime game this week, so that's great. So if we're going to start chronologically, go with Baltimore and Kansas City. I'd like to hear who you guys think is going to win the game. Eric, who do you got?
I got the Chiefs. I think they're going to absolutely murder everyone in the league like the New England Patriots did when they had their best season. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but they destroyed everyone in the regular season. That's what I see coming from the Chiefs. So where you have them winning the Super Bowl, I've got the Eagles. but I think they're going to absolutely destroy people in the regular season. I don't even think it's going to be fair.
As someone who has Patrick Mahomes in a lot of fantasy leagues this year, I hope he, puts up this Tom Brady numbers from that year. But I'm also going with the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to murder the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to come out and run the ball well. Interested to see what Derrick Henry can do on that new offense. Marcus?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs as well, sticking, if I think they're going to win the Super Bowl, this is a game that's going to get them there to get that home field advantage in the playoffs. But I do think it'll be low scoring, a very close game. I do think Baltimore's +3. That might be an interesting side to take, even though I think the Chiefs are going to win. It's the Ravens, I think, are putting, especially Lamar, a lot of the stuff's been going out, making it seem like it's an important game. And obviously it is an important game, but I think they're putting just a lot of pressure on themselves, where the Chiefs been there, done that. I think they'll not want to have what happened last year where the Lions came in and beat them on opening night. I think the Chiefs come in focused this year and take the win. Marty, you got anybody different?
Nope. Chiefs as well. Nothing new to add. Let's move on next to Green Bay, Philadelphia. Zach, who do you like there?
Give me Philly. I think the Eagles are going to be really tough to beat this year. And like I said, I'm not quite sold on Jordan Love as being like the next franchise quarterback. We'll see how that goes though. Marcus, do you agree?
Yeah, I actually am a little bit sold on Jordan Love, and I have the Packers winning this game. I think they're the better, more complete team. The Eagles, especially at the end of last year, were one of the worst teams at stopping quarterbacks in the past. I think Love will be able to kind of just do whatever he wants. They'll scheme up the perfect plays for him. He's got a lot of weapons there too. And it's not a home game, right? It's in Brazil. I think Packer fans travel well. I'm sure Eagles fans will too, but I just think that it's set up well for the Packers to start out with a week 1 W. Marty, who do you got?
I'm on the Eagles as well. Eric?
Yeah, I'd take the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. Eagles to win the game by 10 points. And for the next game, we got Detroit versus the who's Detroit?
The Rams.
I don't know. No, I don't see it on the screen. The Rams versus Detroit. Zach, who do you got winning that game?
Eric, I believe that was your must-watch game of the week. But I'm taking the Lions.
I've got a little. Okay.
I'm taking the Lions. I'm a little worried about the Rams this year, just in general. Matt Stafford's getting old. Hasn't really been, the quarterback that he was a few years ago. Plus, I just think the Lions are in for a great season. Basically, check every box. Do you agree with that, Marcus?
Yeah, 100%. They're my 1 seed in the NFC this year. I think the Rams are going to be very good competing with the Niners for their division. But give me the Lions at home. Marty, I don't think it's going to be a surprise who you're on.
Yeah, I'm on the Lions. I got the Lions doing the Super Bowl. I got the Lions to win this game. I'm on all the fantasy guys. I'm just all in on the Lions. Eric, who do you have?
Well, I got the Lions as well. Now I know who everybody's playing. I'll take the Lions in this game. And let's move on to the next game. We got San Francisco versus New York. I know who we're playing there, and I'm going to take the 49ers. I'm not a big fan of Purdy, but I think they're going to pull this off. And I think Malik Neighbors is going to put on a show for you guys in week 1, where you will believe that he's better than Marvin Harrison after this week.
I think you got the wrong New York team, Eric. It's the Jets.
Ah. Can't do these transitions. You guys do it.
So
I'll take the 49ers versus any Jets team. Okay, there we go. Moving on. Who do you got, Zach?
Neighbors too.
Neighbors put on a show, just won't be against the 49ers.
He's going in for Slick Ricky.
I like the 49ers here. It's a home game. If it wasn't for that, I'd probably pick the Jets. And if I'm playing the odds or maybe even the spread, I think I'd take the Jets. I think it's going to be a really close game. But straight up, give me the Niners. What about you, Marcus?
You both are wrong. Give me the Jets. I think the Jets have a very good opportunity to catch the Niners on the wrong time. A lot of players who they just signed, Ayuk, Trent Williams, these guys, I don't think they're going to be ready for week 1. I just think it's a great opportunity. Rodgers is going to be focused. He's been ready for week 1 since the Monday night game he got hurt last year. Give me the Jets straight up to win at the plus money as well. Marty, you want to tell them why they're wrong as well?
Yes, I am on the Jets as well. I think the Jets are going to come out with Aaron Rodgers. They're going to come out swinging. They're going to make a statement. This is a tough game in San Francisco. It's they're traveling across the country. It's a tough spot, but I think they're going to pull through and make a big statement here.
AFC East. Who do we got winning the AFC East? I got the Dolphins. I'll give it to you, Zach. Do you think anyone else has a chance, or is the Dolphins going to run away with this one?
I definitely think two other teams have a chance, as a matter of fact. And one of those is the Jets, and that's who I'm taking. What about you, Marcus?
Yeah, give me the Jets as well. I actually expect Buffalo to have a little bit of a down year and not even make the playoffs. I think it'll be between the Jets and the Dolphins when it comes down to it. I think this Jets team is just after what happened last year. It gave them a chance to really focus and rebuild, retool, give them extra weapons to go out and say, like, this is who we were supposed to be last year. I just think Rodgers is going to definitely be on a mission and win the AFC East. Marty, who you got?
I have the Jets as well. I think they're going to come out and make that statement game this week. And then I think that momentum is going to carry through the rest of the season and they're going to win the division. Now let's move on to the AFC South, starting with Eric.
Some people might think this is kind of a hot take, but they asked Will Levis, are you nervous for your first game? And he said, I don't get nervous. So I think this whole team is built around Will Levis. They got receivers. They got pass catching running backs. I think Will Levis is going to put on a real show for CJ Stroud and the Texans. Who do you got winning this one, Zach?
I could not disagree more, Eric. I think the Titans are going to be picking top 5 in next year's draft. But for this division winner, I'm going to take the Texans. Hard to go against them after seeing what we saw from CJ Stroud last year. They add Stephon Diggs. That offense is going to be potent. I think the Jags and Colts will challenge them, put on some good games, give them a good run for the money, but ultimately can't bet against the Texans here.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Marty and I are both on the Texans. They're the chalk team. They're the superpower on offense. They've got a good defense. I think it would be very surprising if anybody else pulled that out in the division for the AFC South. Moving on to the AFC West, I think it might also be a little bit of a chalk division. But Marty, who do you got?
I'm on the Chiefs. I think we've talked about them enough. I don't really have a whole lot to add about Patrick Mahomes. Eric, what do you think?
We've already said it all. The Chiefs are going to run through everybody. Zach?
Yeah, Chiefs here. So I think we're all in the Chiefs. Let's move on to the AFC North. Marcus, who you got there?
Yeah, I was very torn. I wanted to take another bold prediction and go with the Bengals, but I am going to stick with the Ravens. Their team, both sides of the ball, is set up very well. Derrick Henry is going to be a candidate for 15, 20, even plus touchdowns. I think the Ravens offense is going to be very difficult to stop. Sometimes with the Bengals, they have injuries or it just seems like it's always been something a little bit the last couple of years. So give me the Ravens in a close battle. Marty?
I actually am going to go with that bold prediction and take the Bengals. It is true. Something always seems to go wrong, but this year, I think this year everything's coming in. We have a healthy Joe Burrow. I think he's going to be very eager to get his.
They have the easier schedule too.
Let's move on to Eric. Eric, what do you think?
Ravens. Enough said.
Yeah, Ravens for me too. So let's move on to the NFC. Who do we think is going to take down the NFC East, Marcus?
Yeah, I think everybody knows there's no such thing as a repeat winner in the NFC East. I think it's been over 20 years since the last time teams won it 2 years in a row, and that'll continue. I am going to stick with the Eagles. A dark horse contender is Washington. If the Eagles look more like the team the last month of last season than they did at the beginning of last year. But ultimately, I am going to stick with the Eagles just because on paper, their roster's too good to fail almost. Marty, who you got?
I have the Eagles as well. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I think one of the best 2 bets to make is the Chiefs to win the AFC West and the Eagles to win the NFC East. I think those are the 2 locks of all the division locks if you're going to put money down on one of these bets. Zach, do you also believe
I'm not
that?
sure anything's ever locked in the NFC East, like Marcus said, but I am taking the Eagles. Not necessarily a vote of confidence for the Eagles, but more just I'm a little down on the Cowboys, and obviously tough to project the Commanders or Giants as that division winner. So let's move on to the NFC South. I think a lot of us like the Falcons with Kirk Cousins coming into town and getting to see what all his weapons can do with an actual quarterback. Does anybody have an argument to make with that? Or are we ready to move on or just skip this and go on to the West?
I think we're all in the Falcons. It is interesting. The Bucs were the team that won the division last year. So are we just all expecting a combination of the Bucs to take a step down, Falcons to take a step up? Is it going to be a battle? Is it a 1st to 9 wins? What do you think?
I do think it's going to be a 1st to 9 wins type situation. And I also do think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to take a step back. That offense I think they played way better last year during stretches than what they really are. And I think they're going to take a step back. And the Falcons, I do find it interesting that we're all on the Falcons because I think this is going to be a very competitive division. But my money's on the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to be that competitive. I think Falcons run away with it. Raheem Morris is my pick for Coach of the Year as well.
Wow. Do you have odds on that?
I don't remember what it was. It's something like, I want to say.
It's got to be a long shot.
Yeah, somewhat of a long shot. But if you think about it, it usually goes to a guy who comes in and elevates that team. I think that's going to kind of happen with Kirk Cousins. And Morris is going to get votes for that.
Yeah, no, I like that. I would say I'm more on Marty's side. I think it might just be a little bit more of a race to 9 or 10. I like the Falcons, but their first month of the season is a very difficult schedule, and Kirk Cousins hasn't done any playing time. Eric, you got anybody different?
No, I think it's going to be the Falcons, but I don't think it's going to be with Kirk Cousins. I think Michael Penix is going to come in and he is going to get them to the end of it. It's not going to be the Kirk Cousins show all year. I think Kirk Cousins is going to find himself with an injury. Michael Penix is going to come in. They will not let this guy play in the preseason because he is playing too good. If they let the world see how good he is, they're going to be banging on the door to let him play on that team.
If Penix leads them to a division title, let's say at least half the season, is he going to be Rookie of the Year? I wonder what his odds are.
Well, I don't think so. I just don't think he's going to be able to play the majority of the season. I think he's going to get a shortened stint of the season, which is going to hurt his chances for Rookie of the Year because Jaden Daniels is going to have so many passing yards and so many rushing yards, break the rookie rushing record, that I think it's going to be the Jaden Daniels for the Rookie of the Year.
Awesome. Well, moving on to the last 2 divisions here, NFC West and NFC North. I think we're all on the same teams, the 49ers and the Lions. Don't know if anybody has anything real, strong takes there. I do think the Rams are going to give the Niners a chance. I don't think the Niners are going to be as good as everybody expects them to be. They're still going to be elite, but not runaway NFC number 1 seed like they have been. Anybody have any different takes there with the NFC West?
49ers for me.
Same.
And then moving on to the NFC North, I think we've heard a lot about the Lions. I know that we're all on the Lions as well. I do think there's potential for 3 playoff teams out of the NFC North. I think all of them are going to be really good. Ultimately, I'm going to go with the chalk of the Lions, but it wouldn't shock me at all if, the Packers come out and show they're the best team in the NFC. I think both of them are really strong. Marty, who you got?
I too. I have the Lions as well there.
Yeah, Lions for me too, but I do think the Bears defense is a little underrated. Ever since they traded for Montez Sweat last year from the Commanders, he like elevated that defense to a new level. So I think they're going to be more competition in that division than they get credit for. Not enough to beat the Lions for the division title, but better than people think.
Is it crazy that we're all saying the Lions like 2-3 years ago? Weren't they always considered one of the worst franchises or teams in the league?
Things happen fast in the NFL, which is what makes it great.
That Dan Campbell hire really, really turned things around for them.
So we all got the
we
Lions.
All got the Lions, yeah.
Lions and Malik Neighbors together.
Any playoff dark horses from you guys? Like I said, I kind of like the Bears. I think the NFC 7 seeds up for grabs. I think the Bears could get there. I think Washington could get there. Is there any surprises for you guys?
I think Arizona can get there. I think
Arizona.
That offense is going to be kicking all season. They do have some problems on the defensive end, but I just think that they can maybe be able to get to 10 wins or so and sneak in that to a wild card spot.
Probably delusional optimism from me, but I like the Commanders. I think Jaden's really going to spark that offense, and I just got to put some hope in Dan Quinn. He's going to turn that defense around and make them up more competitive.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think a lot of people overlook the Washington defense and what Quinn can do. Get some creative pass rushing going and not make it just have to be Daniels carrying the entire team. So anybody in the AFC that you guys might have any surprise playoff teams? AFC stacked. Somebody's going to have to miss it.
Yeah, I think it's more about surprising teams to miss it than it is surprising teams to make it. Because kind of like you said, the Bills might not make it, or
I have the Bills missing the playoffs.
Yeah, at least one team from that division. I mean,
yeah, and I think the Dolphins could miss it.
Yeah, that's what I feel like the Dolphins are more likely to miss than the Bills, but somebody's got to miss it between those three teams, and then the three teams from the AFC North. So it's going to be very competitive.
AFC is loaded.
And another team that I think a sneaky team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They brought in Russell Wilson. I know he hasn't looked that great the last couple of years, but he still has a lot of veteran leadership, and he's way better he's a huge upgrade from what they had last year. And last year they were in the race. So
yeah,
great head coach.
I think the Jags could be a surprise team. Just all based on if Trevor Lawrence can take that step from being a good quarterback to a great quarterback. Coming out of the draft, he was pegged as like the next, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning level prospect. We haven't quite seen that from him, but if he can elevate his game to where we all thought he could get to, we could definitely see the Jags pop.
And the Jags just drafted a rookie wide receiver in the very first round. Is that who you have, Zach, as your rookie debut player that you want to watch?
No, as a matter of fact, it's not. Who my rookie debut player to watch is your guy Malik Neighbors going up against the Minnesota Vikings, not the San Francisco 49ers.
Let's go.
Not a very good defense. I think they're going to be creative, get him some touches, and he is just such a good player when he gets the ball in his hands. He can do anything. So he's definitely my rookie to watch. Marcus, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Caleb Williams. I want to see this guy we've been waiting for 2 years on to come in and light the world on fire. I think we saw glimpses of it in the preseason. All the weapons are there for him to succeed. It's at home. Bears franchise have been starving for a great quarterback. I think Williams comes out and delivers. And it's something that I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on. Marty, who do you got?
I have Jaden Daniels. The Commanders' offense has also been starving for a franchise quarterback. And I don't know that it's going to be Jaden Daniels, but I do think that he's going to bring some serious excitement week one. He's going to be running. I'm excited to watch Jaden Daniels.
Marty, yes, you do know that's going to be Jaden Daniels as the Washington future franchise.
We will see.
Just wanted to put that out there.
I love him for this year. We'll see.
Before we get to Eric,
don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that
before we get to Eric, I want to ask Zach, what is your optimism on a 1 to 10? We know you're a Commanders fan. You've worn the shirts before. What optimism are you ready for
on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah,
I'd say probably somewhere around a 16 or 17. He looked fantastic in the preseason. In fact, I thought he looked better than Caleb Williams. The deep ball to De'Ami Brown, he's just on target. He's going to get the ball to Terry McLaurin. It's going to be fun to watch.
How are you going to watch? How are you going to watch the game?
Is it a plug for DirecTV or what?
Yeah, I think it's YouTube TV now. Is that what I'm supposed to be promoting?
I'm just curious.
You gonna be on Reddit?
Brought to you by YouTube TV.
Or I guess they could go to the games. I don't know. Eric, did you have a rookie in mind that you want to see?
Well, I absolutely love Jaden Daniels. You guys already know that I'm talking about him all the time. I think he's going to be all day, every day with Jaden Daniels. And Marty took Jaden Daniels right before me in the last draft, which really crushed my soul because I try to snag him. He's one of the players I want to get every single time. But the player that I grab a little bit early that's a rookie is Malik Neighbors. You already mentioned him. I think the whole offense is going to go through Malik Neighbors. They're going to be terrible. They're going to be throwing all day long. He's going to see, I think, in the realm of 160 targets this year, which could get him up to about 100 and plus catches this year. And it's big play central. Big play central.
I like it. Moving on to some bets. I think there might be some people who want to make some bets here, gamble a little bit on week 1 in the NFL. It's always one of the biggest, right up there with playoffs, Super Bowl. So, Marty, do you have a best bets for us this week?
I like Matt Stafford to throw at least 300 yards. You can get that at plus 180 on DraftKings. I do not think that his team is going to win the game, and I think he's going to be throwing all day, and he's got great receivers to throw to, and I think he's going to have no problem getting to that 300-yard mark. Eric, what do you think?
I would be absolutely shocked if Dalton Kincaid does not hit what he's predicted, a 4.5 over under. I'm taking the over on that. It's minus 155. If you want to make an extra $600,000 this week, just mortgage your house and put it on the line, and you will win $600,000 on Dalton Kincaid. I would be shocked if it would not happen. It's the best bet of the week.
That's assuming you have a mortgage that's worth about $1 million.
Which is the majority of the country.
Well, I don't. Similar to your Bills bet, I'm going to pick another Bills receiver, and that's Khalil Shakir, who only needs 4 catches to clear his over/under of 3.5, and you're going to get more money for it. I think Kincaid and Shakir are both going to get a lot of targets and receptions this season. So why not take a guy whose over/under is a little bit lower than Kincaid, and you get a better payout? I think both are pretty likely to hit. But
Zach, which one do you say has a higher percent of hitting, Dalton Kincaid or Khalil Shakir? If they paid exactly the same, which one do you think is more likely?
If they paid exactly the same, then I would take Dalton Kincaid. But they don't pay exactly the same. That's what we're basing this off.
Lock of the week.
All right. Well, moving on to Marcus. Do you have a bet for us?
Yeah, going more team side, something I like to do is take 2 teams and do a 6-point teaser. For me this week, it's going to be the Bengals -2. I think they're going to beat New England at home by more than a field goal. That feels very safe to me. And I also like the Jets, where you can tease them up to 10.5, and you get that at -120. I really like that bet. So again, Bengals -2, Jets plus 10.5. That's over on DraftKings. So moving on to our crystal ball picks of the week, starting with a player who we think might underperform or bust this week. Marty, who do you got?
Mine is Dak Prescott. First of all, I'm not huge on the Dallas offense this season, and they're starting the season off with a pretty good defense in the Cleveland Browns. And I just think that it's going to be a low scoring game. I just don't know that I'm off Dak Prescott this week. Eric, who's your bust?
A lot of people were on Ramondre Stevenson this year. They thought he's going to be the bell cow for New England. I think New England is going to be absolutely terrible. And what he got him the volume there last year was catching the ball. And now Gibson's in town, and it looks like Gibson might actually be good this year and steal some of those catches. So I don't think we're going to see the same opportunity out of Ramondre Stevenson. I am a complete full fade on him this year in fantasy football, and I do not think he's going to be able to produce in week 1.
So to find my crystal ball bust of the week, I went to the ESPN rankings and wanted to find somebody who's ranked really high that I thought might underperform. So I pulled up the wide receiver rankings and saw Devontae Adams ranked number 9. So I thought maybe this is a cheat sheet from last year or 2-3 years ago, but no, it's the current one. And I just think this is the year where he takes a step back. I don't like the Raiders offense, and then they're playing against the Chargers. I think Jim Harbaugh is going to have that team running the ball and playing defense. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of points from the Raiders. I think a top 10 finish for Devontae Adams just seems a little unlikely for me. Marcus, do you have a player that you think will underperform?
Yeah, I'm going to go with what I think would be a bold take is Kyren Williams this week. He didn't play in the preseason. We've heard that he'll be the punt returner. Those are all obviously negatives. We don't know what Blake Corum's role is going to be in that offense. But even if Kyren Williams gets most of the touches, he's facing the Lions defense that allowed the fewest points to running backs last year in 2023. I think only 2 running backs, depending on your format, scored double digits against them last year. So Kyren, I think you're probably not going to sit him. But I just think you need to really hold your expectations down on Kyren. He's going to be a player that's going to severely underperform this week. But moving on to our crystal ball plays of the week. people that we want to start. The guy who's going to overperform. Eric, who do you got?
Well, I've talked about him before. I'm going to talk about him again. Jaden Daniels all day, every day. I think he's going to break the record for rushing for a rookie. I think he's going to hit the deep ball to Terry McLaurin. I think it's going to be the Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels show all year round, as long as there's no injuries, and we don't wish Cash any injuries, but I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels all the way.
Well, I'll take the other half of that and go with Terry McLaurin. He's currently ranked as the number 33 wide receiver on ESPN's rankings. I think he's a guy you start this week. Jaden Daniels, he's going to throw to somebody. Terry McLaurin has not had a quarterback of this caliber, so I'm excited to see what he can do. Sam Howell was not hitting guys on the outside like Jaden Daniels, and I think that's going to lead to Terry McLaurin showing off the skill that we all known that he's had, but just hasn't had the quarterback. And that starts week 1. Marcus, who's your guy this week?
Yeah, I hinted at earlier when we said who's going to be the RB1 this week. For me, it's going to be Kenneth Walker. I just think he's an absolute smash spot if they really are going to give him the majority of the touches. Broncos in 2023, their defense gave up the second most points to running backs last year. No defense was more vulnerable, or I guess worse than them when it came to being on the road. I expect Seattle to win the game. They're 6-point favorites. That just means a lot of touches for Kenneth Walker in the second half. And he's my crystal ball pick this week. Marty, who you got?
I've got Dalton Kincaid. I've already talked about him, so I'm not going to say a lot more here, but I think he's in a smash spot this week.
I love
Those
to hear
are your
that,
crystal
Marty.
ball picks. Eric, got something?
I love to hear that, Marty, because that helps my lock of the week. We need 4.5 catches over for Dalton Kincaid. I'll take it. And one more thing to Zach, Terry McLaurin and Deontay Johnson were the 2 receivers that I did not want to leave a fantasy draft without later in the draft.
Well, I agree with one of those.
Scary Terry.
You don't
Scary
think
Terry.
you don't think Deontay Johnson's going to have over 100 catches this year?
I agree with the other one.
He
I
might
love
have 100 catches
Deontay
for like
Johnson.
600 yards.
Zach likes
I just-
Pickens.
I do like Pickens. I don't know how that's relevant, but I do like Pickens. But Deontay Johnson, I just don't like the Carolina Panthers offense. Just not something I want to invest in.
Adam Thielen had over 100 receptions last year. And when they brought in Deontay Johnson, they told him he would be the number 1. That was what Deontay Johnson wanted. Carolina was able to give that to him. And
I doubt they would have said that, told him he's going to be the number 2. I mean, that's just not something you tell a guy.
There's no, yeah,
so like, babe, it's really going to be Adam Thielen.
Deontay Johnson is number 1 in my heart, and everyone that smashes that like button and subscribes to this channel is also number 1 in my heart. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode.
What? Oh.